The spellbinding Silverstone circuit hosts Chapter 10 in the MotoGP World Championship, with the British Grand Prix a favoured battleground for the planet's elite riders. The battle for medal glory continues in the Paris Olympics, but it's the pursuit of gold, silver and bronze in the Tissot Sprint that takes centre stage next at Silverstone. It's time for MotoGP. So Silverstone has been the host venue of the British Grand Prix since 2010. What a weekend lies in store as we mark our 75th anniversary celebrations. Already celebrating on Sprint Saturday was Aleix Espargaro and the Factory Aprilia team. After a mesmerising lap time, took Aleix to pole position here earlier on this morning in a dramatic Q2. Silverstone, one of the most demanding, one of the fastest and certainly the longest circuit on the Grand Prix calendar. 5.9 kilometres in length, 3.666 miles. It really is a unique and ultimate test of rider and machine on our 20-round World Championship schedule. Aleix Espargaro was absolutely unstoppable in Sector 4 in that Q2 session. That's where he made so much time to take that pole position. Overtaking up spots, turns 1, turns 6 and 15, and the high tyre stress zone in that Sector 3. Well, there's 5.9 kilometres that gives you plenty of overtaking opportunities. Turns 3, turn 4. This was Aleix Espargaro on his way to a brilliant victory at Silverstone last year from 12th on the grid. So this feels like an awful long time ago now, doesn't it? Going into our 3-week summer break, it was Jorge Martin who started the German Grand Prix in the Sachsenring from pole position. He won the Tissot Sprint and was tantalisingly close to a dream weekend. There was drama further back as Frankie Morbidelli and Marc Marquez made contact in the battle for the podium. Will that be a key moment of this year's MotoGP World Championship? Martin crashing out the lead with just 2 laps to go. Pecco Bagnaia seizing the World Championship lead with his 4th successive victory on Sundays in 2024. A memorable day for the Marquez brothers as Mark and Alex became the first siblings to stand on a Premier Class podium together since 1997. Fast forward 4 weeks and we arrive at the British Grand Prix here at the iconic and historic Silverstone circuit, ready to kick off the second part of this season and ready to get the party started, to kick off a celebratory weekend here at Silverstone as we mark our 75th anniversary of this fantastic World Championship. Just look at some of the iconic, illustrious faces and names on the special podium here at the British Grand Prix. History never ends. Here's to our next 75 years of great racing and creating our own history. The modern day superstars in MotoGP tomorrow in the 20-lap Monster Energy British Grand Prix. They will feature special retro liveries honouring former machines and former riders as we celebrate such a milestone weekend here in the history of the World Championship. Next on the agenda though, and as we mentioned, the build-up, it's the Paris Olympics running right now, but it's the battle in MotoGP for gold, silver and bronze medals. 12 points is the maximum on the table for the winner in this afternoon's 10-lap Tissot Sprint, which I'd like to say, Matt Burton and Lewis Sotheby in the Comtrucks bringing you all the live action. Simon Crayfart down in pit lane. And on a historic weekend, it felt quite fitting this morning, which we had an historic MotoGP Q2 session. Lap records have tumbled throughout this memorable 2024 campaign so far, and that trend continued this morning in stunning fashion. Aleix Espargaro, the race winner of the British Grand Prix here last year, he did all that hard work from the back of the 4th row in 12th place. Well, there's nobody starting ahead of the 35-year-old who turned 35 earlier on this week. a show-stopping, a stunning 1:57.309. The platform for that was an absolutely stunning final sector. At the age of 35, second time in the last 4 Grand Prix, Aleix Espargaro on pole position, and given his record here at the British Grand Prix, Lewis, that qualifying sets him up for a favourite tag really in both the sprint and the Grand Prix tomorrow.
He loves this place. Spoke to him yesterday and he said outside of his home Grand Prix in Catalonia, he's going to miss this Silverstone circuit more than any other when he hangs up his helmet full time at the end of this season. Because the battle for gold coming up this afternoon, it's MotoGP's golden oldie, I suppose, in the form of Aleix Espargaro, 35 years old, who's going from the very front this afternoon. He's certainly not going to have it easy, though, with a quartet of Ducatis right behind him on the grid. The 2 factory Ducatis right next door. Pecco Bagnaia and Enea Bastianini. Bagnaia, in particular, felt that pole position maybe should have gone to him this morning.
Old, but hopefully gold then for Aleix Espargaro. 7th career pole position, 2nd in the last 4 Grand Prix. As we mentioned, he was the race winner here last year. He's been in a top 3 in every session he's gone out on this Silverstone circuit so far this weekend. We just saw there Marc Marquez coming to the back of the Gresini Ducati. Goes 3rd, of course, in the MotoGP World Championship. Salvaged a 7th place on the grid after a brutally tough Friday for the number 93. He heads row 3 ahead of Maverick Viñales and Pedro Acosta, and all Spanish 3rd row. We just saw there Pecco Bagnaia, who Lewis probably felt like he was going to be in the hunt for pole position, but a rather bizarre instant as he started his final flying lap. His late attack, a sponsor sticker on his helmet worked its way loose and just plonked smack bang halfway through his visor as he tipped into the pretty scary first corner, Abbey corner, and that was it, game over.
Yeah, it was almost like he was riding into turn 1 with a makeshift windscreen wiper right across his visor. We saw him shaking his head when he came out of club corner to start the time lap, so it clearly had already caught his attention, and clearly wasn't too keen to tip it into the high-speed Abbey corner with that wiggling in front of his face. It's been a weekend of equipment problems for Pecco Bagnaia because he had his leathers come loose up at the top yesterday too, so we'll certainly be hoping that all of those particular gremlins have certainly been put in the past so he can focus on the job at hand this afternoon, which is trying to beat Aleix Espargaro. And of course his teammate Enea Bastianini back on the front row of the grid this weekend. First time we've seen Enea Bastianini on the front row since he took pole position at round 2 in Portimao. He said to me yesterday, if I'm in the top 3 at the end of the first lap here this weekend, I'm in the mix and I can challenge for victory. He's given himself the best possible chance starting from the front row. Only
the 2nd time since they joined forces together in the factory Ducati team that Bagnaia and Bastianini slot alongside each other on that front row. The only other previous time was the Malaysian Grand Prix last year in Sepang, which Enea Bastianini then went on to win that weekend. We just saw there Pedro Acosta. Yeah, he's got a rapidly expanding fan club. There's a lot of shark caps, a lot of inflatable sharks wherever we go in the world, aren't there, right now? And that young supporter, Pedro Acosta, will be relatively happy. It was tough going on Friday as he equated himself with this long, fast and demanding Silverstone circuit. Acosta goes from the back of the 3rd row in 9th place. That continues a pretty impressive qualifying record for the rookie. He started inside the top 10 in all 10 rounds so far this season.
Had to go via Q1 to achieve that earlier on today. Did Pedro Acosta. He's not the leading KTM on the grid. That honour went to Brad Binder this morning after a blistering late lap in the 157s. A 157.9 for Brad Binder, which sounds like a rapid lap time, and it is. But the rapid rate of development in MotoGP tells you that Aleix Espargaro was some 0.6 of a second quicker than that 157.3 on the 2024 Spec Aprilia, which is the bike that now Raul Fernandez, you just saw there, now has at his disposal too. Fernandez, though, one of the victims of another ultra-competitive Q1 session, which, as mentioned, saw Pedro Acosta advance through. Raul Fernandez not so lucky, and that's why he finds himself on row 5.
Yeah, topping that Q1 session impressively was Alex Marquez, who then put in a pretty impressive performance too in Q2. 5th on the grid goes the number 73. That's qualified top 5 in his last 3. Marco Bezzecchi, well, this time 12 months ago, he was starting the Tissot sprint from pole position in somewhat, it's fair to say, different conditions. We had treacherously wet conditions on Super Saturday here 1 year ago at Silverstone. Not been able to repeat those heroics in the dry here this weekend. Marco Bezzecchi, he goes from the back of the 4th row, 12th place for the 25-year-old Italian. In fact, he's not qualified now higher than 12th in the last 5 Grand Prix. Marco Bezzecchi, who's still coming into round 10, has just the one single podium to his name, that 3rd from the front row at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi, of course, will be in the colours of Aprilia next season. And I guess he'll be feeling pretty smart about that particular move now when he sees how competitive the RSGP is, particularly around a circuit such as this. Aprilia and a pair of Ducatis on the front row, a pair of Ducatis and a KTM on the 2nd row. Ducati, Aprilia, KTM on the 3rd row. The European manufacturers once again dominating in MotoGP at the moment. They account for each of the first 5 rows on the grid before we find Johann Zarco for the Japanese manufacturers. Top Honda back in 16th place on the grid. As Matt mentioned, we're certainly looking forward to seeing what each team and their retro liveries look like when they're all on the same grid. A grid of 22 that will be formed tomorrow and this afternoon in the Tito Sprint. And the reason it's a 22 rider grid, if you haven't been with us so far today or yesterday, is that the grid does not include Alex Rins, unfortunately, after a crash yesterday at this very Brooklands corner. Of course, Alex Rins already arrived here short of 100% peak physical condition after the injury sustained in that big Turn 1 high side at Assen. Rins and Yamaha collectively decided at the end of yesterday to withdraw from the rest of the weekend, which just leaves the 2 Yamahas out on track, Fabio Quartararo and the wildcard Remy Gardner.
Yeah, speedy recovery to Alex Rins. Unfortunately, we've said that too often over the last couple of years, haven't we? Alex Rins, who his British Grand Prix weekend started in such positive fashion, signing a new 2-year contract with the factory Yamaha squad. Jorge Martin, we expect, well, everybody, of course, in the half-race distance, 10 laps, will be going for the soft rear tyre, maybe a split between the soft front and medium front tyre. We see Martin there on the medium front, so that it was so close. This is Marquez, he's going soft front, soft rear tyre, so slightly different on the front tyre pick between him and Jorge Martin. Now then, it's been such a positive and strong Saturday so far for the factory Ducati team. As we mentioned, for just the 2nd time, both Bagnaia and Bastianini alongside each other on that front row of the grid. How are they going to fare in this 10 laps? Let's get some pre-sprint thoughts of the boss, Davide Tardozzi, who joins Simon.
He does. Davide Pecco looking fantastic as always. Looks like he had a glitch with the visor and a transfer coming onto his visor, but that stopped him having a second shot at it. But he looks so good. The other great news is your other rider, Enea Bastianini, looking fantastic as well. Give us your thoughts going into this one.
Yeah, we are very happy to have both riders in front row, but anyway, it will be really difficult because Jorge Martin, Aleix Espargaró will be very difficult to beat. I mean, it depends. I think that the front tire choice could be an issue. We know that possibly Aleix will have the hard one. Maybe it's the right choice. I don't know. Yesterday it was. We don't take the risk for the temperature, so we go on medium. Then we'll see which one will pay.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Davide Tardozzi. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, the graphic we just saw there, I mean, obviously there's potentially some differentials in terms of front tyre choice. As you mentioned, the whole field surely will go for the soft rear tyre. Marquez on the soft front, Martin on the medium front, but from pole position, the graphic suggested that Aleix Espargaró will go for the hard front Michelin option. Yeah, it looks like coming to the grid out of our commentary box window here. We're getting a proper good glimpse of Aleix as he does come to the grid. It looks like then he will be going for the hard front. Of course, it will give you certainly the braking stability, straight up and down braking stability, maybe losing a little bit of edge grip and turning that the soft and medium will give you, but clearly they've crunched the numbers and they've gone on Aleix's gut feeling. It could change, of course, be coming to the grid for the sprint with the hard front compound. Interesting.
Yeah, real mixed bag there across our front 3 rows of the grid. As you saw there earlier on, Marc Marquez with the soft front from 7th on the grid. Let's get a word quickly on tyres before the sprint gets underway. A real mixed bag of selections, particularly on the front tyre. Let's get the thoughts of Piero Taramasso and Simon.
Yeah, just speaking about the front tyre choice, obviously soft rear, but we've seen over the weekend all of the front choices doing fast lap times. Give us your thoughts.
Yes, that's correct. The three front choice, the soft, the medium, and the hard, all three they work well. At this moment, the majority they are split in between the soft and medium. But some riders are thinking about the hard, especially the Aprilia, because Aprilia they are able to load the front and put the temperature in the hard front. And we know that the hard front, when it's working, it gives you better support. So let's see. For sure, soft and medium, we will see, and maybe a few hard, why not?
Last question is temperature. Is it warm enough to use the hard front in general?
Yes, we are at the cross point. You know, we are like 28, 29. The good temperature will be 35, but if you start well, you load the tire, you put a little bit more pressure, you warm up a little bit more with the tire warmers, it can work.
Thank you, Piero.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks very much, Piero Taramasso from Michelin. Thanks to Simon as well. Yeah, you can see there Ralph Fernandez and Miguel Oliveira, two of Aprilia's quartet of riders on the grid, have gone for the hard front. We suspect that Aleix Espargaro, certainly from pole, has opted for the hard front. We know how much downforce the Aprilia Aero generates, so they can generate tyre temperature very, very quickly. Paolo Bonora, well, he will be the man in know in terms of Aleix Espargaro, Maverick Vinales' tyre selections and their chances of glory in this Tissot sprint. Let's get his thoughts. He's with Simon on the grid.
He is. Paolo, you must be so proud of your machine. It's come on so well, you know, for a relatively small manufacturer from Italy to be on the front row ahead of the GP24s. And your first win's been here, your first pole, your first sprint. Tell us all about it. What do you think's possible in this one?
Yeah, for sure, proud of the machine, proud of our riders, and for this unbelievable lap time for the record of this track. And despite of the crash of Maverick, we hope that he also regained the feeling for this sprint, because we know in Aleix's side he has good feelings since yesterday, and now Maverick has to regain the feeling.
So there's a lot of talk about front tyre choice. So I've got one more question for you. Is it possible for your riders to be able to run that hard compound now?
We are evaluating this, in particular in Aleix's side. It is much related to the temperature, so we are looking to the temperature of the tarmac, and we decided last time.
Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Aprilia's Paolo Bonora. Jorge Martin then, he seems to have blocked out of his memory the bitter disappointment of that late crash. 2 laps from the end of what would have been a perfect weekend in a Sachsenring. Thought he was going into the summer break with a 20-point World Championship lead. Eventually went into the 3-week hiatus, 10 points adrift of the informed Pecco Bagnaia. Martin, of course, heads that second row of the grid in pursuit of a 14th Tissot sprint success. The 26-year-old Spaniard, third time this year he's qualified off the front row of the grid.
And of course, you don't need any reminder from us about how strong Jorge Martin is in the Tissot sprints. Well, Brad Binder is the leading KTM rider on the grid. He secured 6th place this morning. Jack Miller looks back like his old self again from 11th. Let's get some pre-sprint thoughts from Francesco Guidotti, who joins Simon.
He does. As Lewis was just saying, Jack is looking more like the old Jack, you know, from the beginning of the weekend. Brad Binder, what a lap time there. I really would like your thoughts. He's so good in the sprint, or has been in the past. Possible to do something today?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, nice to be back where we start this season. Sprint race, 10 laps here is quite long. So let's see what will happen. The tire choice looks like for everybody the same. And so
for the rear or for the front?
Almost front and rear will be the same as far as I know. And yeah, let's try to get the podium again.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Francesco Guidotti. Thanks, Sam. There is Brad Binder on your screens right now. The cupboard has been bare in terms of the trophy cabinet since the double podium in the season opener in Qatar. Just the 4th time this season Binder's qualified top 6 in 10, along with Qatar, Jerez and in Catalonia, where he was 4th in each of those 3 Grand Prix. There's the spectacular overhead shot of the sprawling, vast expanse of this motorsport complex at Silverstone, the site of a former RAF base. a change, a very late change. 11th hour switch here for Marc Marquez in terms of that front tire. He's gone up from the medium to the hard compound. In fact, he came to the soft, didn't he? He's gone up 2 steps. Yeah, he's gone up from the soft to the hard. Just wonder whether it just feels like the temperature is just creeping up. Yesterday, track temperature in the hottest conditions we had of the weekend so far were 43 degrees for the hour-long practice session. Piero Taramaster said we could get, what, low 30s. That's when you really need the optimum temperature to generate the heat in that hard front tyre. But Marc Marquez then, third in the World Championship, has gone with the Aprilias, you feel. Over to the hard front then for Marc Marquez.
Yeah, the official information we got when the Moto2 qualifying session finished around about half an hour ago, the track temperature was 36 degrees. So you can't imagine it's going to be too far away from that. Around about 5 to 3 local time. So that has certainly clouded the decision-making for the riders on the grid.
Well, that's in that window, isn't it, as well, that Piero Taramaster was talking about, where you can make that hard work. Maverick Vinales, a little bit frustrated, having been second quickest yesterday morning, finds himself 8th on the grid. Successive races where Mavericks had pretty big crashes towards the back end of Q2. He did it in the Sachsenring, and he did it this morning, a hefty old crash, losing the front through the high-speed turn 2. No problems, no injuries for Vinales, but that's why he finds himself sandwiched in between Marc Marquez and Acosta on that third row in 8th spot.
So Pecco Bagnaia then with a 10-point World Championship lead. Of course, no guarantee that he'll lead the World Championship into tomorrow's retro-themed British Grand Prix, with 12 points up for grabs in this afternoon's Tissot Sprint. Pecco Bagnaia, of course, going for a 5th consecutive Sunday victory tomorrow, but this is the rider who has enjoyed the better of the sprint in this new era of MotoGP. 28 Tissot Sprints have taken place. Jorge Martin has won 13 of them.
Yeah, Sundays where Bagnaia, though, really does cash in. Could tomorrow be a history-making Grand Prix here at Silverstone for the Italians? He bids to make it 5 wins in a row. That's never happened from a Ducati rider previously in history. And he is the form horse coming into this British Grand Prix. Of the last 111 points available across Mugello, Assen and the Sachsenring, well, he's collected 106. It's been an astonishing burst of form, a brilliant surge pre-summer break from the world champion, who's looking for a 3rd successive MotoGP crown. Great summer break for the 27-year-old. Got married to his now new wife, Dimitzia. He won the Race of Champions at World Ducati Week. An absolute masterclass on the stunning new Ducati Panigale production superbike. So that Enea Bastianini on the front row for just the 3rd time in 2024. His last front row was the pole position in Portimao. 2nd on the grid, 4th time in that 6 Grand Prix. The world champion Pecco Bagnaia will fire away from 2nd, but after his record-breaking performance in this morning's Q2 session. Aleix Espargaro was your British Grand Prix winner here 12 months ago. Can he win the British Grand Prix Sprint in 2024?